Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel on this cold winter day in January. Last week we had very mild, warm spring-like temperatures here in East Tennessee, and today we still have a little bit of snow on the ground. We had a snow blizzard pretty much yesterday morning. The temperatures got very, very low, and yes, so winter is back in force here in East Tennessee. I received a really good request from one of my friends and subscribers, Lenore, and she said, would you please do a video where you just say what you use with all of the plants in your collection, your orchids, your Thanksgiving cacti, all of your plants. So I thought that would be a good thing to do at the beginning of the year. And I'll go through, show you what I use with all of my plants. That is actually one of the most frequently asked questions on my channel is, what do you use for this plant? So I'm going to just try to concentrate all that information here in this video so that you can come back and reference throughout the year. So as you see, here is my beautiful Fowl Magic Art, who has graced me with many beautiful, diverse blooms this year. She is growing in medium chip Orchid Bark. All of my very large phals are either growing in medium or large chip Orchid Bark, or they're growing in the Better Grow Orchid Mix, which is a large chunky bark. I like both of them. I think both of them are excellent quality. Sometimes I have to work a little bit with the Better Grow as far as separating out different size chunks. I do that a lot for just depending on the size of the orchid that I'm working with. If you're wanting a bark that is very uniform in size, the Orchid Bark is the way to go. For my small miniature orchids, which this is my Falsogo Tahiti Sunset. He is not what you would really call tiny, but the roots to this are not as large as the huge phals that I have. So he is in medium size Orchid Bark. That's what a medium sized chip looks like. I could have used a small, but I think the medium for him was absolutely perfect. And as you see here, I have Soleil Champu. She is a miniature Dendrobium. She is also growing in medium size Orchid Bark. The medium size is kind of my go-to. For my area, it just seems to really work for me. Instead of getting a bunch of different sizes, I can pretty much stay with the medium chip for most of my collection. Even for this little guy, this is a Dendrobium Kiki, and this is medium chip Orchid. He has grown just very, very well in this. It's just kind of like the perfect size for my collection. And for my miniature Phalaenopsis orchids, the ones that are in the small pots, like the 3 to 3.5 inch pots, such as these, I have these in New Zealand sphagnum moss. And I also use the Better Grow Orchid grade sphagnum moss that is from Chile. Either one of them are good. I really do love the New Zealand sphagnum moss, but also the Better Grow Orchid grade is very, very good. I believe that this one is in the Better Grow and my red poker is in the New Zealand sphagnum moss. Both excellent mosses. Just make sure you get an orchid grade moss, because any other moss is just going to turn rancid on you. The regular brown basket moss, that is not for orchids. They have to have their own special premium grade orchid moss to be able to really thrive. And over here in Cattleyas corner, both of these are in New Zealand sphagnum moss. These have been in this moss for about 4 months now. It's already sprouted. It is beautiful, and I highly recommend, if you live in a humid climate or in a dry climate. It really doesn't matter. I have heard from so many people from all over the United States that their Cattleyas grow very, very well in New Zealand sphagnum moss. So this has worked for me for 20 years, and they thrive in this beautiful moss. Okay, and here is my huge Dendrobium corner over here. These are my 4 and 5 foot tall Dendrobiums. The one that I nicknamed Wilson, he is in medium size Orchid Bark, and then Dendrobium Jade Fantasy number 9 is growing in New Zealand sphagnum moss. Sometimes I have to kind of sit and think, okay, what did I put that in last? But Jade Fantasy has been in New Zealand sphagnum moss now for 5 years. She loves it, so I'm not changing it. But Wilson got to the point where he was staying just a little bit too wet. He just did not like having wet feet. So I changed him into the Orchid Bark. He's been doing great ever since. Okay, now on to my Thanksgiving cacti. What do I use for these? Okay, this one is in regular potting soil. I believe that Daniel, my friend who gave me Big Red, said that this was in Miracle Grow potting soil. When I brought him home, I did not want to repot him right away. So I had some very small chunk Orchid Bark that I filled his pot in with. I don't really recommend you do that unless you need to. It's really not cost advantageous. But here's the point. If you need to do a repotting and you don't have time, or you need to do a repotting and it's just not, it's not time to change up the pot, if you'll put some fine bark on the top, then that's going to buy you a little bit of time. Actually, it's bought me quite a bit of time. You don't want to put something like sand on top of a Thanksgiving cactus. That will cause the demise of your Thanksgiving cactus. I've heard of people doing this and they just lose their plants. If you want to add something, make sure that it's light and airy on the top layer of your pot. So yes, you can use the very small Orchid Bark. It's going to take a lot of it though, just be aware of that. But they grow fine in that. But I just use the regular Miracle Grow potting soil, the kind that has the fertilizer in it that works for 6 months, and it really works. Okay, next let's talk about the African violets. I use black gold African violet mix. I find it on Amazon. I have found it to be a very nice potting soil for my African violets. I like to use it quickly because if I don't in my environment, little black fungus gnats tend to find it. So I like to use it up within about a month because it just attracts fungus gnats. I'm supposing it's because of the peat moss that's in it. So that is a really good potting mix for those. And also, that's what I potted up my Queen of the Night in. And it is growing as you see. Oh my goodness. It has grown quite a bit. So that is a good potting soil for both the African violets and for the Queen of the Night. Several of you have asked me what I'm growing my aloes in. My aloes have grown huge, as you see. This one is about 2 years old. And this one is growing in Miracle Grow potting soil with the 6-month fertilizer. It has grown, wow, I've had a lot of growth on that. And behind that is one of my Draconas. This is my tallest one. It grows all the way up to the ceiling. This is a big guy. He's also in the Miracle Grow potting soil. So he seems to be very, very happy in his home. And as we end this video, I'm going to show you the unique and unusual blooms that Magic Art produced this year. Oh my goodness, aren't they so very pretty? I wanted to tell you all thank you so much for watching. Lenore, thank you for the video idea. If any of you have video ideas that you would like for me to incorporate into my channel this year, please just leave that in the comment section below. And I would love to say the blessing over you, your family, and your plants. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn His face towards you and give to you and your families His shalom peace. You all make it a great day. We'll see you next time.